Hello there, everyone. We just watched Wreck.
Wreck, it's R-E-C. Wreck.
Yeah, that's what I've got the poster for right here. Wreck.
Is it the one with the end of the movie?
Nope. Well, yeah, but it's her. So, we just sat down and watched. This is a Spanish horror film. I think it was made in Spain.
Yes, that was Spain.
So, with it being as fresh in our minds as possible, we thought about talking about it.
There is a second one, which is a direct sequel, and we're gonna watch that one too. But I don't know if this video is gonna. I don't know how we're doing this. If we're gonna just combine this with the second one when we watch the second one, because we didn't want to watch them in a row.
Yeah, because these are it's a found footage.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who doesn't know, found footage is when it comes from basically I'm holding up a camera going through the entire movie and everything is from my perspective.
Yeah.
If you've seen found footage films, then you know that there's a lot of shaky cam, and actually had to take a break during this movie because I started feeling a little motion sick. Because it's in Spanish, so I'm focusing on the subtitles. I know very little Spanish, so I could pick out minor words, and the shaky cam was just like, I got motion sick.
Well, a lot of people have problems with found footage movies because of that.
So, not a bad film. It's 75 minutes roughly, and we had to take a break 30 minutes in, maybe.
Almost at the end of the first part.
Yeah.
First half, I should say.
So there, we'll give a little spoiler warning when we talk about the more ending of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case, for anyone who does want to watch it in Spanish. We only saw like the very beginning of it in English because we were looking for it.
The dub did not sound good though.
It sounded okay, but
not as good.
It did not sync up like at all. So it was very frustrating to watch it because like her mouth was completely. It is an old Godzilla film.
Oh yeah.
Like that's how bad it was at points, and we only watched like a minute of it. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's bad. So well, let's give like a rough rundown of like what the plot was for it, if you want to do that.
Sure. So, I start? Okay.
Yeah.
So the main characters of the film are, what are their names? Angela is the reporter, and the cameraman is Pablo, and they're doing a segment called While You Sleep. Was that the name of it?
Yes.
While You're Sleeping, or something like that. And so they're following firemen around their day. So you get like, what, 10, 15 minutes of them like touring the fire station?
I actually think it was less.
It probably was less.
But so they were going on. One of the things I will say about this, talking about the very beginning of it, is for a lot of horror films, in my opinion, they take way too long to get to anything like spooky or like plot relevant, it seems, and they just focus on like the background. And I understand there a certain amount of that needs to be done, but some horror films that are an hour and a half long, you don't see the horror until an hour into it.
Yeah, well, that's because the horror is the hard part, so they leave as little bit as possible.
That's true, but it
was very well paced, I felt.
Yeah, it felt like it had good pacing in it, especially like the beginning segment is boring because they're all boring because it's just watching someone with a camera. So they, as you said, they get the following around firefighters, and then they get a call for someone who's just trapped in their apartment. There was screaming in someone's trap. So they head down to the...
Well, they don't find out someone is screaming until they get there and they talk to the policeman.
Okay, well, they know they get a call, they go there and find out someone's screaming. So they head down there, and at that point, which I think is like 10 minutes, 15 minutes into the film, that's the point when it starts being good. Because it has, I don't know, like suspense / drama just to figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, especially since like I don't know, I've watched a lot of zombie media and it doesn't really give you the zombies. Well, I mean, you know that it's zombies going into it, but I wouldn't say it gives off a zombies vibe just yet. It's no World War Z. There's not like, you know, ominous signs everywhere. They just walk into a very, what I'm assuming is a standard apartment for Spain.
Yeah, not knowing anything about Spain.
Interesting. I've never been in like a. I imagine we might have some shaped like that in our big cities too, but
it
I've never
was
seen anything like it.
It was a condensed apartment building that what's like the best way to describe it?
It's tall but not very wide, so everything's arranged like that.
Yeah. So with it, they go up, and the police go up and they see that there's a woman freaking out in it. Freaking out in her apartment, and I kid you not, like her freaking out, it was hilarious.
Yeah, a little bit, because like the infected ones in this movie aren't like, they don't like do zombie things, they do really creepy things. So she was just standing around, and then they started approaching her and trying to talk to her, and then like the second one of them turned their back, because that's just a theme. She like screamed and jumped on him, and she bit him, and he actually gave him a really bad bite wound.
One of the things I will say, like, about the bite wound. So, the bite wound happens, and then, like, as they come downstairs, they like it. Oh, okay. So he bites the cop, or she bites the cop.
Right.
And the other cop is like, stay back, and then pulls out a gun and shoots her.
Yeah.
Like,
so you know,
they actually used a gun in a zombie movie appropriately.
I mean, yeah, because they have common sense. So like, another thing I thought this movie did very well is it had people freaking out even when it's like the people were acting very much in what was not their best interest because they were freaking out, which is, you know, realistic.
And this is, I have a complaint about this, but once again, it's not like a major thing. The yelling in a different language, with shaky cam, because the camera gets really shaky.
Well, I mean, the guy's like fucking sprinting.
Yeah, so so the guy has the camera and people are like pushing him around and stuff as everyone's screaming. That like pushed me over my limit for like nausea, because I don't understand the language except for a couple words which I kept picking out. The yelling, because yelling is always annoying. But it was done well for the situation. Just that like pushed my motion sickness, like headache thing. We had, it was right after that we had to take the break, because it was just like mind overload.
Oh yeah.
And then during all the yelling, one of the strangest things in the film happens, which isn't like majorly touched on. One of the firemen who showed up is thrown over the railing.
Oh yeah, so I think what happens is that the infected woman like shoves him over. I think.
Maybe, I don't know. It seemed,
because it's never really. I don't. No, we do see her again in an apartment, but it's never explained or even like touched on. It just happens. So it is really weird, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
So yeah, after that part, like they actually took like a little bit of time to like just freak out and try and escape it.
It's like a good zombie thing should start. It starts slow.
And From this point on, I know it's a little early in the video, but if the premise sounds really cool, go watch the movie and then come back and finish this video.
Yeah.
To hear our thoughts, because from like this point on is when most of like the big stuff happens. You look at the film, you know it's going to be a zombie found footage, or at least a found footage, and then quickly you find out it's zombies. But from like here on is when it changes more.
Mm-hmm.
And
we should probably also they were quarantined. When were they started? They were quarantined.
The quarantine happened right after the police was bitten by the woman.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, because they tried to take him out to get help, and they were already quarantined, which means that the government knows what's going on, but they don't.
Oh, one of the things I will say, kind of as a joke, is that government-funded programs are extremely slow. But the second zombies are introduced, they're faster than Usain Bolt.
Yeah, I think that the general thing with zombies is always that there's been some Black Ops unit in the CDC or whatever that's like, that's a zombie. Get the National Guard.
Right, but it's always funny that it's like, even when they're major issues, like they take so long. It's like zombies, like we're there, we're stopping it now.
Well, that is literally like a.
Oh, it's priority one, but just as a joke.
It's
a government funded program that actually gets stuff done quickly.
Right.
So for a lot of the film at that point, it's kind of like a typical zombie thing where a couple people get bitten and people are just freaking out because there were 2 women who got bit.
Which 2 women?
So, the old woman in the apartment when they first went in, and then there was, the C-name country.
What?
I don't know, it was the girl from the different country when they went in there and they shot the woman again.
The Chinese girl?
No, it wasn't Chinese. They said someone lived in an apartment across the way and we never actually see her down there.
Uh-huh.
She was the one who got bitten by the woman.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
It's I think she was maybe Cuban or something.
Oh yeah, that could be.
It was a country that starts with C. I can't remember right now. I didn't write that down.
Colombian.
She was Colombian.
Okay.
So those 2 get bitten, and then basically they have a health inspector come in.
They call him a health inspector, but really he's the guy who knows what's going on and does his best to do something about it.
So then there's a large segment with him going on.
Well, that's where it starts to get more frantic because he walks in and he's pretty much just like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Now,
because they hadn't actually gathered everyone in the basement like they were supposed to, and then when they're giving medical attention to the cop and the fireman, they only handcuff the cop, and then the fireman attacks. Or is it the other way around? Other way around.
Yeah.
I think.
No, the cop is the one who's handcuffed.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So then the firemen, they handcuff the cop. I don't think the cop I don't know if he ever came back. I mean, he must have, but he was handcuffed, so he never was there. And then the firemen got up and they ran out and closed the shutter because there was the textile workshop in the apartment.
I mean, it does make sense. There are a lot of buildings that have
dual purpose.
Yeah, it'd be like,
I know, but it was kind of weird. Well, okay, so the way those buildings are usually made, at least from the ones that I know about, is you have the store and then a stairwell that's completely independent of the store. It's not even in the store a lot of times, that leads up to the apartments.
But this is just a workshop.
Yeah, it was literally there was you have the entranceway, you have the staircase on the right, and you have the shutter in the back. That's it. And that's just where the workshop was.
Mm-hmm. So we'll kind of go over it a little quickly here. Uh, there is a little girl who mentions, or there's a little girl who has tonsillitis.
Oh yeah, so when we were first coming in, we saw this guy outside who wanted to. Did we see him?
No.
No, sorry, I'm thinking of the second one, which I watched today, and we'll watch at some point.
There's actually, so it's the guy's daughter.
No. Yeah, the lady keeps screaming about, or not screaming about, but yelling about her husband is coming to with medicine for the girl, and she claims she has tonsillitis, and then the girl talks about her dog, and then
yeah.
later...
So her dog. This is whenever I watch these types of movies or a lot of things, sometimes it's fun to kind of guess the plot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's
and 100%. If you want to go watch this movie, take a step away now because I'm going to give away like one of the biggest spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
So come back to it afterwards. 3, 2, 1, spoiler time. The little girl is patient 0.
Well,
technically the dog is patient 0.
Yeah.
Max is the dog's name.
And then, I mean, super spoilers. We find out that she's only patient 2, but let's not talk about that.
So jokingly, in it, I was like, the girl's patient 0, like way earlier in the film.
You called that early, and I didn't say anything because I knew you were technically right.
Like way early in it, I just joked about it. And then when they mentioned Max, I was like, "Oh no, her dog! We have to save her dog."
The CDC guy. Okay, so after the 2 guys that died, the fireman and the cop, come back and start attacking them. They run out, and then they demand answers from the CDC guy and the CDC.
Why do you keep calling him CDC?
Center for Disease Control.
That's not what he is.
I know that's not what.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, they have it's like it's bio. It's the BNC.
No. That's just a protocol. It's BNC.
Biological
nuclear or chemical.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I thought that was what they were, because they kept saying the.
I think that's just the
BNC.
Yeah, just the protocol.
Yeah,
I can't find anything.
It may have been bad translation. They kept saying the BNC was here, so.
No, they kept saying. I don't remember them saying the BNC is here. I remember them saying the BNC protocol, which is biological chemical.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Nuclear chemical.
So, the fact that there are 2 things about, besides motion blur, there are 2 things about this movie I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
The little girl is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So the little girl, it kind of looks like she has a split lip throughout it. Okay, it's a kid.
No,
yeah.
didn't.
No, it looks like she has a little bit of a split lip. Like when she's messing with the camera, it looks like she has a split lip.
Oh, maybe she got that and I didn't notice, because I don't think it was on her at first, because they did a whole interview with her. And
in the interview, she does have the split lip.
Huh.
Okay. So it's like a little bit of a split lip, and it's there for the whole time. The kid fell down or something. Whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not like a big deal. So she had a fever and she looked sick, and that was it. Like she literally nothing.
She was a fever. She didn't show any visible symptoms.
Yeah, she did. She had a fever. The doctor put a hand, or the intern doctor put a hand on her head, and it was extremely hot.
To the camera.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Talking about her symptoms, but we never saw them.
Well, a fever's just hot.
Well, yeah, but she never looked pale. She never looked sickly. She was always attentive.
So the worst thing about it is, as soon as the little girl Yennefer, when Yennefer is being held by her mom the whole time, and she bites her mom.
No, she doesn't bite her. She pukes on her. She pukes on her face.
It looked like she had cuts on her face.
She puked. I remember. So
she puked blood
after, but
so
they're just all standing there. They say some. I think it's right when they have the realization about Max. They turn and look at her, and the lady's like, she just has tonsillitis, and then the little girl just immediately pukes blood in her face and turns.
All right, well, it's shaky cam, so it's really hard to tell. It looked like she bit or clawed her face to me.
Something well, Maybe we'll leave that one as.
So anyway, something happens with the mother, and then like she puts her down, and the mother's like, "Oh my god!" Which is why I thought she was bitten, because I thought she was like, "Ah, my face!" And then the little girl's just standing there, and she looks like a zombie. Like she has decay marks on her face.
Not decay. No. Because none of the zombies have decay.
No, the boils on her forehead.
They didn't get any boils.
Yes, she does.
They had the whites of their eyes were flushed with red.
No. The little girl actually has deformities.
Okay, I feel like I want to fact check it, but I don't.
We'll pull it up. I know for a fact because I wrote it down.
Okay, hold on. Okay, well, if you wrote it down, I trust you.
Because her face looked like a zombie. Like, she had boils on her, like, and she looked like a zombie, and no one else did.
Mm-hmm.
That was it was like, okay, now we're a zombie movie. It's kind of how it seemed like it.
Well, maybe the surprise at the end has something to do with that, but we'll get to that.
So I thought that was done very poorly. It would have been much better if, like, just for argument's sake, she bit her mom and then ran off. Because she runs off regardless. But
yeah, it's really weird because she doesn't. The zombies in this movie don't act like traditional zombies. Like, they don't just like mindlessly move towards food. They do really creepy shit. So what she did is she bit her mom, got up, fought off the guy, and then just like stood there for a second and then ran upstairs.
And obviously it's creepy because little girls are terrifying.
Absolutely.
So then it's just the survival segment of a movie. I'll kind of skip through this. So they just jump in if there's anything like specific you want to say, but they basically just go through a bunch of segments of trying to survive. Mm-hmm. They were given an antidote.
What?
An antidote, like the health inspector inject her with this. The little girl inject her.
That's an antidote. I don't know what that is. It's never brought up again.
I'm sorry. I did air quotes. You couldn't see it, but so it's an antidote for the zombie because the health inspector specifically said inject the little girl with this.
Yeah, but I don't think it's an. I don't know.
It would be something to kill her, or what? Because he administered it.
Like a blocker.
Yeah, I don't know. He administered it to other ones, I think.
He administered it to the.
But they didn't do anything.
To the fireman because he was cuffed. They did it, and remember because we talked about it because it was the really gross, like right through the face wound.
Yeah. No. Through the face was the intern. Because I said it was a numbing agent.
No. The intern was the medic. They were treating the firemen and the policemen.
I could have sworn that was before the health. Either way,
no, that was.
It has some gross imagery.
That was before the health inspector and the health. Wait.
Yeah, because when the health inspector showed up,
the health inspector shows up and they inject him with something else.
Yeah, and then he immediately attacks him. So I don't know what the hell it is. But
so they have something. Antidote blocker or something.
Yeah, the health inspector said inject a little girl with this, whatever that means.
And, we don't know if he did.
And then it goes through several segments of them like just trying to escape. There's a really creepy scene with the girl, which is awesome. As they try to inject her because the cop's like, "Give me the drug, give me the needle," and then he goes to inject her and she bites him. Blah blah blah.
The second he turns his back because that's a theme.
Yeah. Because it always has to happen. So there's a bunch of like running away stuff. Now, here's my second problem with the movie. Mm-hmm. They run away. They get down to just the camera woman, the one who's on screen right now, and the cameraman.
The reporter and Pablo, yeah. But hold on. Along the way, we have to give. He didn't last long, but we have to give props for effort to the fireman.
Yeah, like the fireman chief or something.
No, he wasn't the chief. He was just a dude. His name was like Manuel or something, but they called him Manu or something.
Yeah, that guy actually had like some good zombie skills.
That guy was awesome. He snapped one's neck and then he like shit stomped another one with the sledgehammer, and we never saw how he died, but I assume it was under a pile of zombies.
One of the things that kind of bugged me was like he was being a like straight up badass, and then they're just like, "Oh yeah, he died off camera."
I mean, he probably got bit when he was
I know,
shanking
but
the
at the
woman.
same time, they
It looked like he
transformed
got bit.
way too quickly at that point.
Well, okay, so they actually did lay down a foundation for that. I don't know why the girl does so, or why the girl goes so slowly, unless we have the. Do you think that the dog might have been like actually like really recent events? Because that must have been either same day or like day before. Because I mean, the little girl.
No,
Had a
it was
really long
the day
incubation
before.
period. Yeah, so the little girl had a really long incubation period, but.
But why
Maybe
didn't
that was
anyone
for
else
the.
transform quicker?
Well, okay, so they talked about, or the CDC guy when he came in, he talked about how it was related to blood type, and they can't predict it. So obviously the tension meter went up, so they had to turn faster.
I know, but it's
Also, the
literally
virus
just
is
for the
evolving or something.
it's just for the sake of the movie that they went faster.
Possibly.
Because I highly doubt the infection would just become that much faster. Because in the time it took him to go up one flight of stairs, one floor, the guy had transformed.
Yeah.
Like, she was... They were...
God. Sorry, I just... Sorry, go on with that thought. I'll share mine after.
It went too quickly, I understand, it's for the pace of the movie, because it was in the final act. The actual final act is the worst thing about this movie. Josh actually made a really good point in it, that this like kind of film thing like is a little reminiscent of like Outlast the game.
Yeah, because they have a segment where they have to use the camera's night vision mode, and remember that because it'll be important in the second movie.
It was going through it, and because it night vision and having to like it's creepy, but it's like enough to be real. Obviously, it's something of a fantasy. No. Well, yes, absolutely. Night vision is always creepy, as the same as little girls.
Yeah.
But then the worst thing about the movie happened.
Mm-hmm.
They go upstairs and they're at the penthouse suite, the very top, and they go in there and there's a bunch of it's like a conspiracy theory stuff where there's like all the pictures and newspaper articles
on the wall, and they're all talking about the keywords where it was a possessed girl from Medeiros.
I don't remember, but yeah. Also, the Vatican was involved.
Well, because it's a possession.
Well, I know, but like the Vatican was involved. There's a bunch of Jesus Christian paraphernalia everywhere.
Catholic specifically, because
Catholic. And then that part I felt was very stupid. Because why can't it just be a zombie film? Why does it have to be possession?
It's different.
It felt very out of place in it.
I'll agree. I think Rec 1 and Rec 2 would work better almost as like just one long thing, like part 1 and part 2.
And I feel like you might be able to defend it more because you saw the second one.
Yeah, so we should watch the second one.
But the first one ends terribly. There's just this... So they're in the top apartment.
I'll admit it is probably the weakest part of it, but even then there's some truly fantastic stuff because that lady thing... Ugh.
She's creepy. But also, how'd she get there, and why was she there?
All questions that are answered in the second movie.
Okay, well, that's bad. Like, that's bad filmmaking for the first movie.
Also, I'm gonna attempt to explain to you what I picked up the first time, through the context clues.
No. Nothing from the second movie.
No, not from this. I'm gonna try and tell you what I remember picking up from the first movie and my first watching.
You know what? Don't this time because, like, just because you know of the second movie.
Well, no, because they give you a semi explanation in the first movie. Because remember, you got that tape from the priest or whoever, the doctor or whatever, who's been talks about the enzyme.
Okay.
Because they have the tape recorder, so it's pretty easy to deduce that that lady is the possessed girl and that the guy working on her is a doctor or priest.
Also, there's a little boy in there too.
I think that might be.
There's a little boy up top too.
Boy?
Yeah, it's a boy. It's a little kid, but it's not the girl.
Right.
Up in this what are those things? Attic.
Because that's where you put your child zombies. Where do you put your child zombies?
But so it felt like the last bit was extremely rushed. I did not enjoy it. Maybe it could rectify itself, but I didn't like it.
Rectify.
Just because it was very rushed and everything. It felt, at least. And I know they're building to the second one now, but...
Well, I don't know if they were... I don't actually know if they went into it with the intention of a second one, because the second one answers all the questions.
It was made 2 years later.
So, yeah, so with a standard production cycle is probably planned.
So that's why I feel that at least they wrote it to be 2 parts. So I felt that was a very weak part of it, and I will say the night vision part was very awesome. Like, I love night vision because it's super creepy. And I guess I'll give like one more little spoiler thing. I'm gonna just pull it up on the screen, so you can kind of see the point. This right here is what the tall woman looked like, or like the monster looked like. She was a full-grown woman that hadn't eaten in forever. She had a hammer.
Yeah, she had a claw hammer in her hand. I don't know why. Maybe she just picked it up.
It's also in the image I showed. So it almost seemed like at the end it was like, hey, you know what was popular? The Exorcist. We don't want to be our own thing. Let's be The Exorcist. It also... I've
actually seen The Exorcist.
It also ends with the same stupid drag-away scene that everything has.
Yeah, but that was 2007. Maybe they made it.
No. No, the drag-away scene has been in, like, everything, even before.
Well, then it's an homage. Whatever. It's still... Having never seen it before, it was cool the first time.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. It's cool the first time. When you've seen it 100 times, it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the wreck. Final thoughts on it?
I enjoyed it both times I've seen it.
It wasn't a bad movie. The motion blur is the worst thing about it, but that's every found footage, so I won't hold it against it. Just this emphasis, do not watch this in English. Watch it in Spanish. And that'll wrap this up. We'll be back with part 2, hopefully soonish after this goes up. If you want us to talk about anything else, leave a comment down below. Or message me on the socials, or message him on the socials. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.